Okay. Thank you for watching here on YouTube Live at Blooming Light at Bloomy's Tribe. If you're logging in live, it is Tuesday, September the 16th, 2025, and it is approximately 5:33 p.m. Central Standard Time in the U.S. in Beaumont, Texas. If you're logging in at a later time and date and you are a decent being, then just thank you for watching. If you're new to my channel, check out the homepage, check out the links there, as well as well over 2,000 videos over there. And it's a mixture of my stuff and other content creators, and it is a mixture of a little bit of everything. Okay, so if you're somebody who's looking for something traditional and streamlined and structured, then I'm probably not the channel for you, and that's okay. All right, so have y'all ever wondered? I think in the title I said, Carrie, undeserved humiliation ritual. Have y'all ever wondered? Okay, some of y'all see the original is like the 1976 version of the movie Carrie. I think they've made like two or three variations from that since then, obviously. But me being an old schooler, my fave is the original, okay, 1976, okay, Sissy Spacek. And, of course, in this case, we're talking about high schoolers, right? And so, typically these are the types of things we associate to high school, okay? Um, but as we live on, we really begin to realize that as sophisticated as we like to think we are, as sophisticated as we want to believe, adults and professionals are, it's really not true. Adults just become more, I want to say, adults just simply become more professional at hiding it. They become more professional at covering their tracks and outsourcing and things like that, but they really haven't so much grown past it necessarily. But have you all ever wondered, from the perspective of the movie, and then of course we can go into real time and see if we can draw the connections and then question ourselves like, okay, so yeah, then why? In the movie, you know, you got this little homely little girl, okay? This is, these are teenagers in the movie, you have this teenage girl that obviously she's withdrawn, homely. She's definitely doesn't fit in. She's certainly not a cheerleader, okay, or pep squad nigga, or you know what I'm saying. She's certainly not none of that, okay. um, and she doesn't fit in. She doesn't have any friends. She has a weird ass mother bitch. Good gravy. Um, and that explains a lot. Shit. Crazy ass telling her, "Oh, see it because this is an old movie, but it's like for real, for real." Mm. Um. Anywho, so but she didn't. Here's where we're gonna go with this. Okay, so she didn't bug anybody though. Okay, she was quiet. They teased her every chance they got. Okay, even though she was quiet, I think she started her cycle at school, and of course that's embarrassing. But good grief. Okay, they found every reason this little girl, this teenage girl. Okay, that was not she wasn't trying to fit in. She wasn't trying to fit in. She wasn't trying to compete for their little Letterman jacket dudes. She wasn't trying to, you know, really. She was actually, from what the movie looks like, she actually was trying to be invisible because people were mean. People were always mocking. They were laughing. They were picking, and so she really just didn't want to be bothered for the most part. Okay, um, and they went out the way to, basically tease her, embarrass something like starting the cycle, you know, which is uncomfortable and embarrassing, and they should know because most of them that had gotten their cycle should have known that. You see what I'm saying? So you would think. And what ends up happening is, I think in the movie they get in trouble. Like the Mean Girls, I think their gym teacher pissed or something like that, and was like, you know what, no prom, blah 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 blah, and that's like the, shit, the banquet. That's like, you know what I'm saying? That's like the awards or something for high schoolers. Okay, you don't take away. Well, you can't go prom. Oh my god. So they were pissed, not at themselves. I'm going somewhere with this discussion. They were upset because these are some entitled little pricks. Okay, they were upset that they were getting into trouble, that they didn't get to go to prom, all because they got in trouble for what they did to her, Carrie. So instead of learning from their lesson, instead of reflecting on their behavior, instead of taking accountability, like, okay, you humiliate this girl, y'all broke the rules, whatever they did, because they did something to pile on to some shit that ticked off one of their teachers. Okay, I don't know if they didn't listen to something, it was something. But instead of that, in other words, taking accountability, they decided that they really want to, you know, amp up some shit. Okay. Especially once, I think one of the girls that was a part of the clique, she felt bad. Okay. She had, it was one that had conscience out of all the other ones. She felt bad, and she realized that that wasn't okay, and blase blase, and that since she wasn't going to be able to go to the prom or something like that, she asked her boyfriend, like, be nice, why don't you, I feel really bad, blah 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 blah. So he asked, she was excited and did made a whole thing of it, and then I think they even rigged it so that she would win as queen, just for the point to do what their gag was. Okay, just to rain on her parade, because she had gotten axed out by one of the jocks, you know, of the school. And you know, Cinderella moment, and just, wow, having a good time and all of that. And so they really wanted to sneak in, since they were restricted, and to rain on her parade and set it up so that she would um, be crowned queen. Okay. And just as y'all can see her, like, for one moment she is happy, for one moment she's not this shell of a teenage girl, for one moment she's getting, her flowers, if you will. Okay, for her moment she's getting the acknowledgement and recognition. Weird little girl with a crazy ass, crazy mama, bitch. Okay, just crazy. Understatement. When you see that movie, it's weird. It's spooky. It's like, good great. Anywho, Jesus. So, and they couldn't handle that, huh? They had to go get some pig's blood. I mean, they done went through the whole shit. They went elaborate here. They could have been acting. They could have been, something, bitch. Talking to their parents about, something. I know they're teenagers and they don't have, they maybe together there, but hell, I'm starting to realize adults don't either. So what gives? Adults don't either. So what do we say of that? If that's our answer, if young is the answer, okay? Because why are we old and still okay? So have y'all wondered? Did you wonder, just from a psychological perspective? Have you ever thought about that? Because, these movies and like the premise of it, and like these were popular girls. These were attractive girls. These were girls that had everything they wanted. They were, known and accomplished. Some of them were accomplished. Um, so, what would you say is a psychological implication about why they teased her so badly, why they went out their way to do that, and why they ultimately wanted to set her up in the moment where she's getting her flowers, having a good time, being a part of things instead of ostracized or odd one out, or, what I'm saying, all of those things. What's the psychological opinion about why these girls behaved that way? Why did they do that to her? We already know that she hadn't done anything. So it's not a matter of us trying to figure out, maybe she, no, we know if we watch the movie that she hadn't. Why did they scapegoat their maybe entitlement issues onto her? Because as far as they all were concerned, she was a loser. As far as all they were concerned, she was a loser. She didn't matter. She wasn't relevant. So if that is the case, then why so much investment on somebody that you feel like is not relevant? Some of the things that I would propose just as possibilities is that those young girls may, some of them may have envied her ability to be a loner. Maybe they envy that because maybe they always felt the pressure to have to be great, to have to fit in, to have to be perfect, to have to look perfect, to have to perform, to have to please. And maybe some of them didn't necessarily really want it, but they just did that for peer pressure and fitting in. And maybe they envied that loner energy, that I know I'm odd, it's okay, I don't need to fit in anyway. Maybe some of them did, because maybe they were wearing a mask. Maybe they were just, like I said, peer pressure, performing, um, all of those things. Maybe, maybe they had, again, we said entitlement, but maybe abuse. Maybe, you take it out on something, it comes out of a hole somewhere, and it's usually going to come out towards something that you feel is weaker than you, that you perceive as weaker. Anyway, I should say that you perceive as weaker. Because maybe they felt like their life was out of control, or they thought something was unfair in their life at home. And as you circle back and play with all of those thoughts of what could have been wrong with these girls, you know, and then you circle back to Carrie. Now here's somebody again. As we watched the movie, she was definitely in a shell. She was definitely reclused. Her mother, okay, this is images of her crazy mama, you know, extremist. Her daughter comes home crying to her because, she's a teenage girl. She comes home, runs home crying because, she was humiliated. Her crazy ass mama. Instead of consoling her teenage daughter that, was trying to have a good time, and she had to put her mama in the closet or something. I think I forgot what she did because she was crazy. She had to use her powers or some shit. But, she goes into another traumatic event. I'm going somewhere with what I'm saying, believe it or not. It's like this, she's just trying to live life. And she's surrounded by all of this weird energy. The one that should have some empathy and compassion is a fucking weird ass radical. No warmth, no motherly warmth, no motherly consoling, no motherly empathy, none of that. And was fixing to try to kill her because she thought the devil, bitch. She thought her daughter was of the devil because she had powers and shit. Uh, thought she was fixing to purge the evil and shit. Like, that is not natural for a mother, is it? It's not natural. So, you know, we have a lot to say about Carrie when we see Carrie get to the end of the movie where she fucks shit up, and we feel we watched the movie. It was like, damn, bitch. Well, last straw kind of vibe. It was the last straw. That's what I take it as. I don't think, as I look at the movie, I don't think this is something that Carrie. I don't think it's something Carrie wanted. Able to allow her to have a fucking moment. It wasn't even much to ask. Just the whole premise of not even being able to allow her to have. She had held it in. She had possibly known and always heard the snickers and the little slight remarks and the little, ugly little stares and, you know, and every day she lived with a mother that wanted to oppress